So this is Hong Ruang, and I'm gonna introduce my test cases and my code coverage in this video. Now I'm gonna share my screen and share it. Now this is my test for project classes. So basically, this includes all the test cases in for this project. And so I'm using my the admin for customer, administrator, admin for parking spaces, admin for requests. This is basically the classes are managing the customer database, parking space database, and request database. Basically, an interface between my Java code and my database code. So these are not just using the database code, but also include some function like login, register, and also uh, the remove and all those functions, all those methods in these admin classes. So and also for view booking to return a array list of booking is also included in the admin for request. So basically these four classes are including all the methods of my application that needed. So the first thing here is setup. So basically I need to set up the customer database. And the first test cases is the test one is for testing if the officer is correctly added. So this officer ID is an administrator class. So officer DB is an administrator class. So like my add method, it returns a Boolean value if the well, how should I say that? If the officer if the officer contains those informations are correctly added to the database, then it'll return true. If it's not, then it'll return false. So if this one added to the database, then it'll return true. If it's not, then it return false. And also we are gonna we're gonna try the toString method in the officer. It's working fine, right? So basically for this task one is testing if the officer is added correctly or not. And task two is testing if the officer is removed from the database correctly or not. Because all my add remove method has a Boolean value to return. So if they return true or false, the corresponding method, like the corresponding functionality is conduct correctly or not. So basically, if the this officer ID is removed from the officer database, then this Boolean should be true. And also here, all my test cases, this test is to test if the customer are correctly added or not. And this test is testing if the customer is removed correctly or not. If it's removed, then the customer DB does the customer DB has a customer's array list stored in the corresponding maintain class. So basically, if this does not contain this customer, then this should be removed, right? The customer should be removed from the database. And also this one is to test if the customer correctly login or not, because this login method will return a customer object. If it's not, if it's login, then it should be the corresponding customer the corresponding customer. But if it's some invalid email and password, then it should be null. Cause we remove this, from the customer database, see the same database, the same customer ID here. So if we remove it, so the customer should not occur in the database. And this one is some like we are testing if the customer is correctly logging or not, and its information is stored correctly or not. So if we are testing the information is stored like are stored as our expectation or not, basically it should be see like that. And yeah, and this one is testing the customer can add a booking correctly or not. And this one is also testing the booking, the adding booking function. Cause this is some like it's a date in the past. So if it's added to the database, it shouldn't be added to the database. So it should be assert for false here, right? This is removing the database. This is removing the booking, and this is remove some random thing. So basically, if we are remove some random ID, it's not exist in the database, and this one should be assert false, right? Should be the remove should return false, and also the upper town. So we are at this one. We are trying to add in a parking space. This is the PS stands for the parking space. And here we are trying to remove a parking space. We are trying to add a parking space and then remove it. And if it's correctly conducted, then the message will return true, and the message will return true. And this one is a test cases for the this one is testing the view function. So basically, if the view of this customer returns the real method here, will accept a customer as a parameter. So once the view customer is once the view method should accept the customer as a parameter, then return a array list of booking. So if this array list of booking size is bigger than 1, then that means the booking here, we trying to add it with this li123, the same ID is working fine. So basically, this is also testing if the booking is added, the view booking is working fine or not, and it's testing view booking and also the add booking too. And here we are trying to view another one here. If it's a view booking is working fine. This one is view booking of the parking spaces. As you can see in the last video, if we click on each parking spaces button, we can see the booking on that parking space. So basically, this view is for the view parking spaces booking, right? And this view is trying to view the this view is like with no parameter. It's like trying to delete the expires bookings in the database. Basically, this view is like includes of some code that it conducts that if some booking is the start time and the end time is expires, then the booking should be removed from the database. So basically, this view is trying to keep all the booking in like how say that in time, kind of like keep all the booking not expired. If expired, then delete it from the database. And this is false. This is trying to grant a booking, and this is for pay the booking. All tested, and also test the changed payment status is working fine or not. So if I go to here, if I try to run as JUnit test, you can see it passed. And for here, if I want to show the code coverage as JUnit test, you can see here, this is a source file and this is an application. Application is a interface part, is a GUI part. So backend is our all the how to say that, all the code part, all the backend code part. So this is the backend coverage is over 81.3%. So the task, the GUnit task already covers more than 80% of the backend code. So it satisfies the requirement. Okay, so basically that's all my test cases and my code coverage part.